Researchers feel very confident that they've finally found the location of Noah's Ark. Previously, the Ark had been lost to time, though we believed it had likely washed ashore on a mountain range in Turkey. There's still a lot of skepticism about whether or not this incredible find truly is Noah's Ark, but researchers remain strong in their faith that the remnants they've found truly belong to Noah and his famous Ark. The story of Noah's Ark has fascinated researchers and common folk for thousands of years. With the Bible's stories about Noah and his life-saving boat floating around all across the world, countless people have been wondering how large this boat must have been and how a single man and his family would have been able to recruit 2 of every animal in the world and live on this boat for more than 1 month. According to biblical history, Noah was chosen by God. God wanted him to build a large boat for himself, his family, and 2 of each animal. God believed the world had fallen into evil ways and that there was no chance at redemption. Because of this, he commanded a flood to pour across the earth, killing everyone except those who were on the ark. After the flood subsided, the Bible explains that it most likely struck land in the mountains of Ararat, in an area that is now Turkey. This story has been told in both the Old Testament and New Testament, with countless ancient civilizations telling a similar story of a great flood that only had a handful of survivors. But have scientists finally found the first pieces of physical evidence that prove this boat was real? Before we get started, be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more videos. Noah's Ark and the importance of it in religion. Noah's Ark is one of the most widely discussed stories in world history. What makes the Ark particularly interesting is that it has not only been spoken of in the Christian Bible, but also in texts from Judaism and Islam. On top of this, the Sumerians, also known as the people of Shinar, spoke of a great flood as well. By all means, this flood does seem to have taken place a few thousand years ago, but scientists and researchers have questioned the validity of these texts until now. Many researchers wondered if a ship of this size and construction would have been able to survive a mass flood. Others also wondered how the ship could have been large enough to fit so many animals, though experts are now convinced that the story is true after finding what they believe to be the remains of Noah's Ark in a mountain range in Turkey. Noah's Ark in the mountains of Ararat. Sometime around April of 2010, a team of Chinese researchers announced that they had found the wreckage of Noah's Ark in the Turkish mountains of Ararat, just like the historical texts claimed. This 15-person team of researchers says they are 99.9% certain of their discovery, saying that the only possibility for these remains is that they would have belonged to Noah's Ark. The team researching the finding held a press conference and detailed how they'd found a scrap of wood and pieces of a rope that likely would have been used on the Ark. They took extensive photos and videos from the wreckage and shared them with those around the world who tuned in to learn more about this discovery. A team of scientists from a Christian organization known as Noah's Ark Ministries International also claimed to have found a larger structure of the ship at around 4,000 meters above sea level in the mountains of Ararat. To put that into perspective, the mountains are estimated to be about 5,100 meters high. The pieces of wood they found are said to be around 4,800 years old, which would perfectly fit in line with the stories told in the book of Genesis, considering biblical history dictates the world is only around 6,000 years old. What makes this discovery so incredible is that the researchers not only found fragments of cypress wood, the exact wood that Noah was commanded to use, but they also found evidence of the ship being divided off into several small segments. These segments closely resemble stables that would have been used to house the animals. According to the team of researchers, these stables would have been sized well enough to fit roughly 2 of most animals on Earth, including large mammals such as lions, bears, or elephants. The exact location of these findings is said to have been kept a secret by the Turkish government until further excavations could be made. However, there's a lot of speculation that these findings may not be genuine. According to several scientists and researchers, a find like this would not be plausible considering the amount of time that has passed since the Ark would have struck land. Some scientists also reject the idea that Noah's Ark ever existed in the first place. However, this theory seems incredibly unlikely, considering how many eyewitness testimonies have been given over the years and how many ancient civilizations could have directly descended from Noah's family. And all of them claim that the flood did, in fact, take place. All of this aside, there are a few key pieces of information that could disprove this discovery. According to a few scientists, a Kurdish mountain guide may have been spotted hauling a large amount of wood up to the top of the mountain range. He had supposedly been doing this in an effort to build fragments of a ship at the top of the mountains. He would have also melted snow and let the wood age for a while, giving the illusion that it had been recently uncovered after being trapped under ice for many years. These claims have never been proven, but it's certainly possible that this discovery could have been created by a shill who's looking to scam people out of money in exchange for guiding them up the mountain. Some researchers who do believe the story of Noah's Ark to be genuine also debate that the Ark would have been found so high on the mountain. According to these scientists, if the story is true, it's almost impossible that the water levels would have risen high enough for the Ark to reach more than 4,000 meters above sea level. According to the researchers, there simply isn't enough water in the world to take a boat so high. Mount Drupinar is the location of the Ark. To further debate this theory, many people have claimed that Mount Drupinar may be a more realistic location for Noah's Ark. This mountain had been investigated for many years, with thousands of people believing that this would be the most plausible area that the Ark would have struck land. You have to keep in mind, dozens of teams of researchers have claimed to have found Noah's Ark over the years, though time after time these claims are either disproven or, at the very least, highly disputed. As early as 1959, a team of researchers from Turkey discovered an interesting rock formation that many people believed looked like the hull of a ship. By 1977, a team of investigators headed out to the area to research the mountain range after some of them had been led to believe that this could be the resting place of Noah's famous Ark. While searching the area, the investigators found several pieces of metal that they believed could have originally belonged to the Ark. These metals would have been used to hold the Ark together and may have also been useful in the stables to keep the animals enclosed. Stories of this discovery spread around the world, though it didn't take long to disprove them. As it would turn out, this mountain range was also home to a once active volcano. The metals they found were most likely the result of a former volcanic eruption that would have left behind residue and rock that would have closely resembled metal or iron. Upon further investigation, it was proven that these supposed pieces of iron were actually magnetites that contained titanium, confirming the theory of a volcanic eruption. To make matters worse, the Bible also seems to explain that the Ark would have been shaped more like a cube than a traditional boat. Because of this, the rock formations that were found would not fit the biblical narrative and thus could not belong to the Ark. The Bible also never mentions any sort of rock being used during construction, only gopher wood or cypress wood. By all means, the theory of the Ark being located on Mount Drupinar seems to have been disproven. Numerous expeditions turned up empty-handed. Even though several teams of researchers have done their best to locate the Ark over the years, there's still no 100% proof that the Ark has ever been found. Even though biblical history states that the Ark would have washed ashore in the Ararat Mountains, there's still no guarantee that the mountains of that time period would even resemble the mountains that are there today. In fact, we don't even know that what we call the Ararat Mountains in 2021 would have been the same Ararat Mountains from 5,000 years ago. The names could have been mixed up over the years, or the mountains could have changed dramatically throughout that time, especially when you consider the possibility of volcanic activity. So where is Noah's Ark? So where does all this leave us? Has the Ark been found or not? At the moment, it seems to be the location of the Ark remains a mystery. Much like the biblical Ark of the Covenant and the mythical Holy Grail, even though these items did truly exist, it's unlikely they would ever be found. Part of the reasoning behind this is because the people who buried them or hid them never intended on them being found. Though there is a much more plausible explanation for this. We have to keep in mind, metallic resources would have been extremely limited at the time. Wooden resources would have been difficult to come by too. We know that humans from this era would have had access to saws and axes, but using them would have likely required multiple people and would have been a lot of work. This means that most people of this time period would have reused their resources and turned them into other projects once they were done with them. As an example, imagine the sheer amount of time it would have taken Noah and his family to build the Ark. It seems crazy to think that after they finally landed, they would just leave the Ark where it was and not make use of the wooden and metal parts. Most likely, the Ark did truly exist. However, it no longer does. When Noah and his family finally struck land, the Ark would have likely been stripped apart and used to build homes, structures, or tools needed for agriculture. It's unlikely they would have simply let the Ark sit there for so many years and rot away when it was filled with valuable wood and metal. So what does all this mean? It's essentially proven that we will never find the Ark. In fact, it probably doesn't exist anymore. After Noah's family used up all the valuable resources, it would make sense that the remaining wood would have decayed over time, meaning there would be essentially nothing left of it today. Think about it. If a tree falls in the forest, it doesn't stay there for hundreds of years. Most trees begin to rot, and they're eaten away by bugs within just a few decades. The idea of Noah's Ark remaining at the top of a mountain for nearly 5,000 years is likely nothing more than a pipe dream. Or so it seems. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like button for more videos and subscribe for more content.